Alright, so we have to talk about Marvel Studios right now, and the fact that with this article that was just released today this morning, they are literally doing like a makeover or like essentially like doing some big changes, especially with Kevin Feige and the team, and just like reevaluating everything to make sure that's all appealing to everyone and trying to do everything at they can to make this whole superhero franchise better than ever, so that the fans can be pleased, and even with the fans that can be satisfied with everything moving forward as well. And so in this video, I'm going to be breaking down this entire article that was released, going over everything that we need to know, especially from Avengers 5, with everything else that Marvel Studios has up their sleeve, especially with the Fantastic Four and with so much projects down the road as well. And so if you're new, then be sure to subscribe, because that notification bell so miss on any future vids. And so let's just hop into it. And now, as I just mentioned, with this article that was just released this morning from the Hollywood Reporter, that is stating with the headline, how Marvel is quietly retooling amid the superhero fatigue. And now, it's especially with this headline right here, and that means like Marvel Studios is clearly like re-evaluating everything in their slate, and kind of like fixing up everything, because even if us, the fans that had so many like hits and misses, especially in the MCU slate with Phase 4 and 5. We were not happy with some of the projects that Marvel Studios has been putting out, and even with Secret Invasion, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and even with the Marvels that like kicked off the Multiverse Saga, but not in a successful way, and it's just especially as they're re-evaluating everything to make sure the script is good and the story is good, and even with the cast, and even with the characters, they have good stories too. And now, especially with the first part of this article that reads, just over a year ago, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was set to take Marvel Studios to the next level. A new villain was going to be introduced, that is, in this case, is Kang the Conqueror. It's setting the stage for several years worth of storytelling, and the movie itself was a giant sizing of a franchise that was previously modest in scope, but it turned out to be a failure. And even with this first headline of the article that states that with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, that was supposed to kick off Phase 5 of the Multiverse Saga, and that was going to introduce Kang, that this big bad a time traveling threat menace that could kill any variant of any Avenger. I mean, it wasn't like that good, box office wise, especially that movie was not well received, and it did not make profit at the box office, nor was it wasn't well received. And that's why with Marvel Studios, they also added that with Avengers The Kang Dynasty is no longer titled that, it's now being titled Avengers 5, and even on top of that, with the Marvel Studios, they considered moving away from the Kang storyline and now having Kang to be the main focus, especially that this was before Jonathan Majors was fired from Marvel Studios, and this is before everything that happened. And even though when it is the case that Marvel Studios did look over the box office and the reception from the audiences and critics for Ant-Man Quantumania, and decided that they're not moving forward with this big bad main threat, and that is for Kang. And even with Marvel Studios and what their plans were with Kang the Conqueror, he was like this time travel menacing villain that can basically destroy any Avenger, and that even with Marvel Studios and their plan wasn't for Kang to be the villain, more like a different villain, and even they fired Jonathan Majors, and this was beforehand, and now with them bringing a new villain to be established in the Multiverse Saga, and what's we wait and see for what their new plan is. But I think there's definitely going to be some changes. And even with more on my thoughts on Avengers 5 and not being the Kang Dynasty anymore, it seems that there's seemingly going to be a moving away from the Kang storyline, which is something that they have been planning on doing, especially after the low reception of Ant-Man Quantumania. People that are saying that they should bring in Doctor Doom, but I think it's too early for them. But I think they should, or maybe until Secret Wars, because that happens in the comics and the source material with God Emperor Doom, and I think with bringing Doctor Doom into the MCU, and now that they have removed Kang, and now with Avengers 5, that could be the case. And they speaking of which, they just set up Kang, and now with Kang out of the MCU, and now they could physically bring in a new villain or possibly Doctor Doom into the project. And now, so especially with these upcoming projects, and that is for Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts, and that's with Eric Pearson, who's just almost done polishing the script, and he did the writing for Thor Ragnarok and Black Widow, and even with him doing Fantastic Four, which I mean, Thor Ragnarok is one of my favorite MCU movies, and now that with Fantastic Four, and that it has a good writer and a good director with Matt Shackman, and even as we look at the Fantastic Four and with its cast as officially been announced, it's a filming that it's going to be set in an alternate universe in a different reality in the 60s. I mean, in 1963, of course. I just hope that it has good writing, and even with this writer that is on board, I did some MCU movies. I think these are in good hands. And now, with the next update that we got is for the Thunderbolts, and it states right here, Marvel hired Joanna Colletto, the showrunner of the acclaimed epic series The Bear, to work on the script for the movie, and that filming will take place in March in Atlanta. And even what the drafts of the script will look like, it says it centers on villains and anti-heroes going on a mission that was supposed to end with their deaths. Speaking of which, with this lineup that we see here, it's supposed to look like a Marvel's Suicide Squad type of team that is entering the MCU, and even that this is coming from the showrunner that did The Bear, one of my favorite shows, and even as she is working on the Thunderbolts, which has good faith in Marvel. They have good showrunners and good writers on their hands, just to make sure that the script and the story is good, and that it's appealing to everyone. But I'm excited for these upcoming things. And even towards the end of the article, where they did state that they're not even doing a reboot, and heck, it's not even a soft one, and even coming from Bob Iger said the studio has lost its focus, they're reducing volume of their content, and it's especially with Disney Plus content as well, and plus as we have all sorts of hits and misses in the MCU, and Marvel Studios is sort of getting back on the right track to make sure they deliver us the audience the content, to make us happy, to make sure it has a good story, a good script, and certainly new characters as well. And the fact they're changing the title for Avengers 5, from the Kang Dynasty, it puts from what I think that the new title should be. I think it should be called Avengers versus X-Men, because we already have the X-Men coming into the MCU, plus with Deadpool and Wolverine is setting it up with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine officially coming back, and I think for whatever they decide to call it, I think it's going to lead into bigger things for the future of the multiverse. My final thoughts on this entire thing with this article that is coming from the Hollywood Reporter, what they're saying is that Marvel Studios is basically scaling back a bit, and just make sure that they're really taking their time with these projects, especially with Disney Plus content as well, and that they're taking time with Fantastic Four, the Thunderbolts, and even with the next two Avengers movies, and even with the Secret Wars, and so much more, and just make sure that they have a good script, a good story, and good characters as well, to make sure that they have good development and chemistry. And I think we're in good hands with Marvel, and I have faith in Kevin Feige, what they have planned, especially with Disney CEO Bob Iger, but we'll have to wait and see. But I'm glad they're finally getting things back in control, especially with their creative decisions as well. And so that's going to be it for this video, and just let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below, and what are your thoughts on all this, and what do you think the title of the next Avengers movie, Avengers 5, should be, and just let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and turn on notifications about future videos, and also follow my social media link down below. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.